Good morning, students. We have been discussing Acharya Kuntaka's Vakrokti Jivitam and the obliquities which he mentions in the poetries. So, earlier we have discussed four kind of obliquities, and last one was the sentential obliquity. Now, this is the fifth kind of obliquity or vakrita, that is known as episodic obliquity or prakarna vakrita. This Vakrita deals with the oblique use of prakarna or episode. Kuntaka says that when the intended object is capable of maintaining suspense all along and is the product of unique, boundless poetic skill underlying it, we have prakarna Vakrita or episodic obliquity. Here he means to say is that the writer, overwhelmed with the zest of creation, creates an alluring charm in the subject matter. According to him, this very charm is nothing but Prakarna Vakrita. He describes the following nine subvarieties of this Vakrita, that is, the Bhavapurna Sthiti Vakrita, obliquity of emotional states, Utapadya Lavanya Vakrita, obliquity of modified source story, Prakarna Upakarya, Upakaraka Bhava Vakrita, obliquity of episodic relationship, Vyoshama Prakarna Vakrita, obliquity of particular event and episode, Angirasa Nisyan Danikasa Vakrita, obliquity of dominant rasa, Apradhana Prasanga Vakrita, obliquity of secondary episodes, Prakarantara Vakrita, obliquity of play within play, Sandhi Viniveda Vakrita, obliquity of juncture. So these all are included into the episodic obliquity. According to Kuntaka, Bhava Purna Sthiti Vakrita or obliquity of emotional state is concerned with the state of a talented poet. Now the words or expression come out with a wild gust of enthusiasm. In other words, now the writer is filled with a kind of frenzy which gives an alluring charm and strikingness. It leads to loftiness of utterance, and so it is an indispensable device employed in a good composition. Kuntaka holds that a prakarna, episode, or incident is merely a desert. It is the emotion that infuses music of life in it. The talented writer creates such emotional states in the episodes of his composition, like Longinus, affirming the role of such states, says that nothing makes so much for grandeur as true emotion in the right place, for it inspires the words, as it were, with a wild gust of mild enthusiasm and fills them with divine frenzy. This is why he prefers the Iliad to the Odyssey and Demosthenes to Cicero. Like stately thoughts, stately emotions, it may be assumed, also belong to loftiest souls, but they have to be true emotions and in the right place. Kuntaka values the emotional states for aesthetic transport which they cause. He therefore offers an artistic explanation for emotional appeal in the composition. It is worth mentioning here that Kuntaka accepts these emotional states merely as emotional utterances of the characters. To him, the emotional states are the responses of characters to various circumstances in human life which they are put in. He adds that such emotional flows are very important in Kavya to cause a great charm. Uttapadya Lavanya Vakrita, obliquity of modified source story, is another sub-variety which is associated with the source of the Kavya. The picture of life portrayed by the writers are not faithful copies accurately rendered in words. They are modified by a predominant imagination. They become striking by associated thoughts or images awakened by that imagination, or when they have the effect of reducing multitudes to unity or succession to an instant. In this way, imagination plays an important role in transforming or changing the source material of the composition. The present subvariety is based on the writer's imagination. By it, he may change the details of the source story to make the characterization more consistent. He may give a hint for future development. He may insert events of his own creation. Besides the invention of something new, he may significantly rearrange the source story. Now, the writer also aims at introducing a universal element in the source story. He makes the Kavya not mere reproductions of facts but truths embedded with those facts that apply to all places and time. He has in his mind the things as they were or are, things as they are said or thought to be, and things as they ought to be. In other words, what is past or present, what is commonly believed, and what is ideal. In this connection, Kuntaka's views equate with those of Aristotle. Aristotle holds that it is not the function of the poet to relate what has happened, but what may happen, what is a possible according to the law of probability or necessity. The writer and the historian differ not by writing in verse or prose, but the true difference is that the historian relates to what has happened, while the poet holds what may happen. Kuntaka says that this imaginative or inventive change beautifies the episode so much so that it, being replaced with aesthetic delight, appears to be the soul of the composition. Consequently, a sensitive reader experiences an aesthetic transport. Kalidasa made use of Uttapadaya Lavanya Vakrita, obliquity of modified source story in the play Abhigyana Shakuntalam. His poetic genius, aided by his deep dramatic insight, quickly saw the story. Though simple and unromantic in its form, it was preeminently fitted to the nucleus of such dramatic situations and incidents as would stir up the hearts of the reader and produce a magical effect upon him. And who can say that he was wrong in his selection? If the reader reads this matchless drama again and again, it never loses its charms for him. He relishes it with renewed taste. His soul remains uplifted as he proceeds. The play becomes so enraptured with its beauties that it is held fast as by a spell and is soon lost in the greater soul of the dramatist. Goethe's words, what that the soul is charmed, enraptured, feasted, and fed, are literally true to this illustrious production of Kali Dasa. What Kuntaka values most in Prakarna Vakrita is the mutual relationship in which episode, which he calls Prakarna Upakarya Upkaraka Bhava Vakrita, obliquity of episodic relationship. Defining it, he writes that an organic unity which strikingly underlines various incidents described in different parts of the works, leading to the intended end, each bound to the other by a relationship of mutual assistance, reveals the essence of creative originality which is most detectable in the case of rare poetic genius who are endowed with the gift of an extraordinary creative imagination. Here he means that all incidents should be complementary to one another in Kavya. They should assist one another mutually in achieving the intended end. The incidents do not have their existence in isolation in the composition, rather, they exist meaningfully by the relationship of mutual assistance. Vyosmaha Prakarna Vakrita, obliquity of particular event and episode, as the title itself unfolds, is concerned with the oblique use of event and episode. Defining it, Kuntaka says that when a meaning in the episode of a kavya, even being repeated again and again, embellished with a new kind of ornament, such each time produces a striking beauty, we have this sub-variety of Prakarna Vakrita. At this level, Kuntaka himself had a question in the mind: shall the repetition of expression consisting of the same meaning not be a blemish in itself? Kuntaka, answering the question, says that ordinarily this kind of repetition is a flaw, but the writer of a high talent uses the repetition as a device to renew the object each time. In fact, this is a result of a state of impassioned writer who, charged with passions, does not count the repetition of some same meaning in the composition. Likewise, a sensitive reader too is carried away by an impassioned utterance. This type of exaggerated description of things or episodes take place in the epics or the works of great length and magnitude. To a great extent, these illusions have the functions of Homeric similes, Like Homeric similes, they are employed to raise out some glorious images or sentiments to heighten the main story of the composition. They amuse the reader by a sublime kind of entertainment and relax the mind of reader by frequently disengaging him from too painful an attention to the principal subject and by leading him into their agreeable images. Now next, Angirasa Niyasandinakasa Vakrita, obliquity of dominant rasa, is the consummation of Angirasa, which generally takes place in epic poems or works of such scale and compass. Indian acharyas interpreted kavya in terms of rasa. According to them, it is the experience of the intended dominant Angirasa, which is the achievement of the Sahardya, being the ultimate result of his response to any work of eminence. It is an artistic truism that a writer has an eye from the very outset on the nourishment of the Angirasa, and all his compositional skills and cautions are directed to the concretization of that emotion. Careful readers will agree to the fact that the atmosphere created and promoted in the story contributes substantially to the evocation of the intended emotion. Here, apart from the parts of and episodes of the plot, the character of the hero exercises a major role. Accordingly, in our investigation, we shall try to follow and discover how the atmosphere intended by the playwright develops and engrosses the reader or spectator, or can overpower the spectator if he has been to witness the performance on the stage. In this regard, Kuntaka says that when a particular episode contributes to consummation of Angirasa in such a way as has not been manifested by any other episode of either of the parts, former or later, of the composition, he have this sub-variety of Prakarna Vakrita. The severing of the dominant emotion is possible through the combination or integration of these elements Vibhava, Anubhava and Vyabhichari Bhava. In Kalidas' play, the forest maiden Shakuntala as well as the infatuated king is Alamben by Udipan are meant such features or circumstances that accentuate the feelings of Alamben, which in fact would mean the hero or the heroine. The sylvan surroundings or the spring season will easily serve as Udipan for the erotic emotion or Rati. Anubhavas signify the various gestures expressive of what is going on in the heart or mind of the main characters, like casting a terrified glance, heaving a sigh, or involuntarily shedding a tear. Then there are ancillary feelings which go along with and subsequently reinforce prevailing mood or emotional disposition. These supporting feelings are called Vyabhicharis or Sancharis because they are short lived and they can enter into alliance with a number of Sthai Bhavas. The enduring passion in Dushyant's heart is Rati or longing for Shakuntala, and he is, however, continually subject to such Vyabhicharis as Ullas, exhilaration, Chapalta, fickle mindedness, and Vyakulta, nervousness. Now, next is Apradhara Prasanga Vakrita, secondary episode. It also contributes to the meaning of Kavya if it is arranged properly. A talented writer inducts a charming small reference or event within an episode for the sake of achieving the primary aim. He arranges interesting and meaningful secondary references or episodes within the episodes of his Kavya. The induction of the secondary references or episodes is not merely decorative, they are employed integrally to attain the main purpose of the composition. Kuntaka unfolds that when Aparadhana Prasanga Vakrita is arranged integrally within an episode to nurse the purpose of the composition, we have this sub-variety of Prakarna Vakrita. There are many incidents which are dexterously interwoven in the construction of play. Abhigyan Shakuntalam, which shows this obliquity. These are the pursuit of Shakuntala by a bee and her consequent flurry, which skilfully made the fit occasion or the king to make his appearance in Act First, the seizure of skirts of her garment by a fawn in Act 4, the singing in the beginning of Act 5, which indirectly hints at the forgetting by the king of his former wife, and which makes him as though love-lorn, though he could not account for the cause, the unexpected recovery of the ring, the picture of the heroine, and the consequent mental state of the king, the soliloquy and the swoon of the queen on hearing of death of a rich merchant who died childless. Acharya Kuntaka made a provision of episode within an episode in Kavya in order to achieve a particular meaning. Explaining this Vakrita, Kuntaka says that a talented writer employs Prakarantara Vakrita, the obliquity of play within play, for a specific purpose. For this device, a set of actors other than the actors already employed, it is introduced in the composition. These actors use the audience such as source material for their enactment in the composition. Kuntaka, emphasizing upon this device, holds it to be an important presentation, and as it helps in getting the intended. Sandhi Vinivaya Vakrita, obliquity of juncture, includes different stages or junctions which take place in Kavya. A Sandhi juncture is a combination of different phases of main action with its subsidiaries. It marks the division of the dramatic action. It is generally held that the formation of juncture depends upon different stages of action: commencement, endeavor, prospect of success, certainty of success, and attainment of fruit. Indian acharyas call them as Mukha Sandhi, Pratimukha Sandhi, Garbha Sandhi, Avamora or Vimarova Sandhi, and Nirvana Sandhi. Kuntaka includes Sandhi Vinivaya, arrangement of junctures. Among the sub-varieties of Prakarna Vakrita, he says that the juncture should be arranged in accordance with the rasa and the matter should be modified accordingly. If the results are excellent, Kuntaka would not bother about rules. He says that the poet should not have excessive craze for observing rules even when the junctures are inopportune. Provided the episode reveals a unique charm of originality, the canonists hold that the juncture should be utilized in the architectonics of the plot if that contributes to the successful management thereof. But if it constructs the flow of the plot, then alteration can be resorted to at the writer's discretion. That is, the junctures are not to be compiled with merely for the sake of conformity with the authority of the rules. The canonists prescribe that where the two junctures have to be abandoned, Garbha and Vimarova are to be ignored. Where three junctures are to be left out, Pratimukha, Garbha, and Vimarova should be abandoned. The paramount constraints upon the writer, what Kuntaka has already emphasized upon, is that it should be always subservient to a unique charm, and accordingly, the junctures are never to be contrived at the cost of the composition. The obliquity of juncture can be seen in the play Abhigana Shakuntalam. The play begins with the benediction. At the end of the prelude, Dushyanta here of the Dhirodatta class begins the play. The Mukha Sandhi commences and ends with Act Second. It brings together the hero and the heroine, and love strikes roots in the hearts of both. Their union in marriage is the final object, and the whole machinery is to be directed towards its achievement. The ground for the seed is prepared when the Yaikhanasha says to be king, may you get a son, and it is cast when he further tells the king about the departure of Kanwarishi, just having entrusted to his daughter Shakuntala. The Pratimukha Sandhi immenses with the interaction between king and Madhavya, king's confidential companion, when the former considers the latter unfortunate for not seeing the beautiful Shakuntala, and terminates with the close of the act third. We have the bindu or the drop in that the stream of the main action, though obstructed by such incident as the talk about the chase, the double call of duty requiring the king's attendance on the queen mother and his presence at the hermitage to ward off the obstacles or to the holy rites, and proceeds unhindered as is implied by the words of the king Madhavya. You have not seen the fruits of your eyes. We have yatna or endeavor for the principal end, when the king says to Vidushaka in the Act Third. Friends, some of the sages have recognized me. Think therefore under what pretext I may again visit the hermitage. The Garbha Sandhi or catastasis takes up the whole of the Act Fourth and extends as far as the instructions passed by Gautami to Shakuntala when the king refuses to recognize her in the fifth act. It consists of the curse of Durvasa, which mars the hope of success, which, however, is still present in the words of Ganva, who says to Shakuntala in the fourth act, placed in the honorable position of the wife of a husband of a noble birth, you will not mind the separation from me. The Avamaroha or Vimarsa Sandhi Paripatia spreads over the remainder of the Act 5 and the whole Act 4. Act 6. Here the certain attainment of the desired end is thwarted by the curse of Durvasas taking effect and the kings becoming oblivious of marriage with Shakuntala. The way to the final catastrophe, however, is paved by the invitation of Indra. The Nirvahan Sandhi catastrophe occupies the last act wherein the various diverging incidents converge to one end, that is the happy union of king with his queen and son. So this was the episodic obliquity. In next lecture we will talk about the Prabandha Vakrita or compositional obliquity. Thank you very much.